Right, so hello and welcome back to Books and Things, and welcome to another video. And today I'm going to be doing one of my sort of miscellaneous hodgepodge catch up on various different things kinds of videos. So I have various things to talk about today. I have some new books to haul, which I have brought onto my shelves over the last few weeks and months. And I also have some video games and shows and podcasts and stuff that I've been enjoying lately. And I also have some Booktube highlights that I want to talk about as well. So this video, as it usually is when I do one of these videos called Books and Things every few months, will be a chatty, rambly medley of various different things. I'm also really enjoying my new mug, which says Book Person on, which I very much enjoy. I do already own quite a lot of bookish mugs, but you can never have too many bookish mugs. The tea I'm drinking, if you're interested in tea, is Cocoa Assam from a company called T-Shirt, and it's very, very good. So there we go. Okay, so I'm going to begin this video by talking about some new books, some books that have come onto my shelves in the last few months. I last did one of these bookish chat videos back in February, I think, so 3 months ago. Is that right? Yes, that's how time works. So I have quite a few new books that I have acquired. I'm not going to mention any new books that I have acquired that I have already mentioned in other videos, such as wrap-ups and TBRs if I have already read them or I'm planning to read them soon, but there are various other books I have recently acquired that I haven't mentioned in any other videos, so I thought we'd talk about them here. So I have a very, very tiny book here. This is 5 different stories about one thing by Elizabeth Baines. Elizabeth Baines is a writer I really like. I read quite a lot of her work sort of probably about 7 or 8 years ago, and then she hasn't had anything out for a while, but I'm on her like mailing list, and she said she had a new thing out, which is a very, very short collection of 5 stories about one thing, so I thought I would pick it up. I had in my head I'd read this really soon because it's really thin and I just haven't yet, but maybe I will do so this month, because yeah, I think it'll be really good. Then another book I picked up is this is Through a Glass Darkly by Helen Bucloy, which is a novel from the 1950s, from 1950, which is part of Penguin Michael Joseph's Mermaid collection. So Penguin Michael Joseph are my publisher, and they mostly publish new fiction, but they have recently sort of added an imprint, I guess. Is it an imprint? I don't know if it's technically an imprint. Anyway, they've recently added a collection. Obviously, it's a collection. That's what it says on the cover. They recently added a collection to their publishing, which is called the Mermaid Collection, which is 20th century classics and books they have published in the past that they want to bring back into circulation, I think. And this one sounds really interesting. This is about a teacher who is dismissed from her teaching position at a school without explanation, and she finds that the pupils and some of the staff are afraid of her, and so she tries to find out what's happened and why people are afraid of her. So this sounds really interesting and mysterious. I think the Mermaid collection in general is really cool, and I picked this up at an event that my publishers ran that I went to. So yes, looking forward to this a lot. Then I have one proof copy to talk about today. I've been trying generally to accept less proof copies because I'm really behind on reading the ones I have, but this sounded so up my street that I couldn't say no. And this is Dwell by Rue Baldry, and this book is a love story between 2 men in 1919, and it just sounded really powerful and intriguing, so I'm very much looking forward to that. Then another book I've acquired lately is this. This is A Room Above a Shop by Anthony Chaplin, and I have been hearing about this book on Booktube for months and months, and probably a year now. I feel like so many people have absolutely adored this book, and then a couple of months ago I was watching Roz from Scallydandling about the books talking about this book, and I was like, you know what? I just need to buy this book. So I bought it, and I'm really excited to read it. I haven't yet. I don't really know why, because it's very short. And I just feel like I'm going to love this. I really hope I do. This book is set in Wales in the 1980s and is about the love story between 2 men who share a room above a shop. And I think it's just meant to be, by all accounts, exceptionally moving. So I'm excited for that. I have in general been trying to acquire fewer books, which has sort of gone mediumly, but I do have a couple more to talk about. These are all birthday presents, and most of them are books that I have read previously in different editions. But one that I haven't read and that I'm really excited to read is the original by Nell Stevens. I love Nell Stevens very much. I've read her other 3 books, her novel, Briefly a Delicious Life, and her 2 sort of memoir-y kind of books, but maybe they're fiction. Maybe it's auto-fiction, who can say. Mrs. Gaskell and Me and Bleaker House, both of which are great. Mrs. Gaskell and Me was basically marketed as a novel in the UK and as a memoir in the US, which I find fascinating. Anyway, that's beside the point. Nell Stevens is a wonderful writer who writes weird books that I really, really like. And the original is set in 1899 and is about a woman called Grace and her mysterious cousin who comes home after having been away for a very long time. And is he definitely who he says he is? That sounds really interesting. I just feel that this will be great because of how much I love Nell Stevens, so I'm excited for that. Also, for my birthday, I got a couple of Victoria's Archives editions of Anthony Trollope books. I have read these books before, but I know I will want to reread them in the future, and I thought it might be nice to have lovely editions of them. So this is Linda Tressel and An Eye for an Eye. I love Anthony Trollope. These two books are great. I feel like I've been talking about Anthony Trollope quite enough every Thursday that you probably don't need me to go on about these two here. Victoria's Archives are a really great publisher who publish out-of-print Victorian classics. Nick gave me a Folio Society edition of Station 11 for my birthday, and it's very, very beautiful. Station 11 by Emily St John Mandel is one of my absolute favourite novels. I think it's just fantastic, and this Folio Society edition is beautiful. Let me see if I can find you a good illustration. Yeah. I just think it's really stunning. I love the Folio Society editions very, very much. And this is very lovely. So very pleased to have that. And those are the books that I have acquired lately. I am excited to read the ones that I haven't read before. And to be honest, to reread Station 11 and the Anthony Trollope books, because I do love Anthony Trollope and I do love Emily St John Mandel. I wanted to mention a couple of video games I have enjoyed lately. Me and my husband Nick often play video games together, especially sort of story-based one or puzzle ones. And one that we really enjoyed over the last few months was a game called Open Roads, which is the story of a sort of 15, 16-year-old girl and her mother, and what happens when they are soon to move house and the daughter kind of begins to uncover some family secrets. And we follow this mother and daughter on a road trip to various places, and you sort of have to explore various places in their family's past and find clues to piece together what has gone on, but you also have a lot of dialogue between the mother and daughter, and it sort of centres on their relationship. And I just thought it was really, really good, with very good characterisation, really fun gameplay, and I just enjoyed it a lot, so that was great fun. Then we also played a really great game called Clem, which is quite creepy, but in a very like childish way that makes it even more creepy, but it's all sort of cartoon, and you are playing basically as a puppet, and you are set tasks by your mistress, who is a sort of 7-year-old witch. Maybe she's slightly older than that, but she's a child, and she is a witch, and you have to go around this like slightly decaying house and find things for Clem. It's just really fun. We both really enjoyed the puzzle elements and also the story, and the sort of like vibe and atmosphere of it was really good. So those are two games that I wanted to quickly mention today. And then I had a few like shows and live stuff that I have enjoyed the past few months that I wanted to mention. Last month, Nick and I went to see the musical Les Miserables on stage. I have seen it on stage before, but not since I was about 15, so a long, long time ago. And it was really, really good. It was so good. It was just great. There were so many things that I'd forgotten about it. I think especially because I've listened to the soundtrack a lot, but actually there's quite a lot of music that doesn't make it into like the West End soundtrack. And I just really enjoyed seeing it again, especially after having just finished reading the novel. I did make a video comparing the novel and the musical, which I'll leave a link down below if you're interested. But in general, I just, really enjoy seeing Les Miserables again. I've also seen a little bit of live music in the past few months. I went to see The Vaccines live, who are a really great band who I really like. They got very good live. And it was nice to kind of remind myself how much I love The Vaccines, because I feel like I haven't listened to them as much in recent years. I feel like I go through phases with music. I'm quite bad for like listening to only 2 bands for 6 months and forgetting about all other bands. And for the last like 6 months to a year, I have listened to Bastille and Belle and Sebastian and nothing else. And they are 2 of my favourite bands, but I feel like I would like to listen to other stuff too. So it was nice to remind myself how much I love The Vaccines. Another thing I went to see live, which I really enjoyed, is a comedy show. This was Alistair Beckett King's tour King of Crumbs, which I really, really enjoyed. Alistair Beckett King, or ABK, is my favourite comedian, probably. He is very, very funny in a very whimsical, silly fashion, which is my favourite kind of comedy. And it was great going to see him live. I've seen him live a few times before, but every time it's just very, very funny indeed. Talking of ABK, actually, another thing I've really enjoyed these past couple of months is a podcast, and it's a bookish podcast, which is hosted by Alistair Beckett King and another comedian, Eleanor Morton, and it's called Eleanor and Alistair Read That. And in this podcast, they go through classic children's literature and reread books from their childhood and talk about them and review them. The podcasts are spoilery, but I feel like, especially if you grew up in the UK, you probably will have read a lot of the books already. I hadn't read all of them, but I had read like 90% of them. I just really enjoyed the podcast. It's very, very fun, very, very funny, obviously, because it's hosted by two comedians, but it's also bookish, which, you know, I love. I don't really have much to say about what I've been watching in terms of TV and films and stuff. I know quite a lot of people have asked in the comments, have I been watching The Other Bennett Sister and what do I think of it? I have watched some of The Other Bennett Sister. I'm working my way slowly through it. I think I've seen 3 episodes. I am quite enjoying the adaptation of The Other Bennett Sister. I'm not, like, completely convinced yet. I will say that I didn't love the novel The Other Bennett Sister quite as much as many people did. I did really, really enjoy it, but there were a few characters, especially Mrs. Bennet and Charlotte Lucas, where I felt that Janice Hadlow's interpretation of them was very, very different to my interpretation of them in Pride and Prejudice. And I also felt the pacing was not quite right. Like, I felt it was quite a slow book that could have maybe been cut a little bit, but I did really enjoy it, and I am really enjoying the miniseries. But again, I still have the sort of same problem with the depiction of Charlotte Lucas and Mrs. Bennet, and I also feel like there are quite a lot of changes they made in the miniseries that I don't really know why they've made. One of them especially is bothering me, but I guess I will see how it plays out in the rest of the series, because they're obviously doing some quite different things. In general, I'm enjoying it. I think the casting is really good, but I am kind of curious to see what they do with the new elements they've added in. But yeah, so far I'm enjoying it, but I feel less convinced than some people are, perhaps. But as I said, I'm not very far through at all, so we shall see. Okay, that's all my like general rambling. Now let's move on to some Booktube favourites. I feel like I have written down quite a lot of Booktube videos and channels that I've been enjoying lately. So let me whiz through them, / try to whiz through them and actually talk at length. I want to talk about one new to me Booktuber who I've been really enjoying over the past few months, and that is Annie from Cats Hate Literacy. She is relatively new to Booktube, and she has cats who sometimes interrupt her videos, hence the channel name. She reads a lot of fantasy and speculative fiction and horror. She talks a lot about LGBTQ+ reads, which I really enjoy. I will leave a few of her videos linked down below so that you can get to know her channel. I'll leave her Booktube newbie tag and her like favourite books of 2005 video. And one thing I've also been really enjoying is that every month she makes a reading vlog reading new queer releases. So I'll leave her April video for that because I really enjoyed that as well. There's also been a couple of people who have come back to Booktube after a little break the past couple of months, which I've really, really enjoyed. Charlotte from Coney Reads is back, and I always love her videos so much. Her videos are just always very fantastic and very fun and cozy to watch. And also her videos tend to be really short, which I really enjoy because it means I actually always watch them all. I feel like there's many booktubers who I love, but I just don't manage to find time in a week for multiple long videos. But Charlotte's videos are usually like 5 to 10 minutes, and there's always time for that, which is lovely. I mean, I say that as someone who regularly makes pretty long videos myself, but I do really appreciate a short video when I find them. Petie from Comfy Cozy Up is also back on Booktube after having had a rough health time, and it's very lovely to see her back on Booktube. I always love her videos. I was also very glad to see that Andy from Really Random Reads made a video last week for the first time in ages, which was great. It was a review of a Doris Lessing book, which I found really interesting. Not a Doris Lessing book I've read yet, though I've read some for others. And in general, it's just really nice to see Andy back on Booktube because I love his videos a lot. And then one other channel I wanted to mention that I've just been really enjoying in general is How's Your Book, which is a 2-person channel run by Cole and Marcus. And I just really enjoy their book discussions. If you're someone who likes to watch 2 people discussing books on Booktube, which I always find really fun, then I highly recommend their videos. I think I'll leave their reading shifts tag linked down below, which I really enjoyed very much. And then there are various other like specific videos I wanted to mention. So I'll start off with some classics content because I always enjoy classics content on Booktube. I have been absolutely loving Elizabeth from A Literary Princess's Gaskell project, where she has been reading through Elizabeth Gaskell's books, rereads for quite a lot of them, I think. New reads for some of them. Her Elizabeth Gaskell reviews are just fantastic and I highly recommend them. They do have spoilers in, so if you haven't read any Gaskell yet, do be wary of that. But if you like Elizabeth Gaskell, you will really enjoy Elizabeth's videos on Gaskell. So far she's reviewed Mary Barton, The Moorland Cottage, Ruth and Cranford, and I'm really looking forward to her reviews as she continues with her Gaskell projects and reads through the whole of Elizabeth Gaskell's work. Then Kate from Diary of a Provincial Lady did a really great review of The Go-Between by L.P. Hartley, which is a fantastic novel that I highly recommend, and I highly recommend Kate's review as well. Talking of individual reviews, I also really loved Miriam Elizabeth Reed's reviews of Isla's Angel by Anthony Trollope, which is one of my personal favourite Anthony Trollope novels, and it was just lovely to see someone else gushing about how wonderful Isla's Angel is, because I do feel like it's quite an underrated one by him. Just a sidebar, I like that even though currently I'm doing Anthony Trollope Thursdays and talking about Anthony Trollope on Thursdays, even in today's Monday video, I have managed to get in several mentions of Anthony Trollope. I also really enjoyed a review of Venus and Adonis, Shakespeare's narrative poem by Nicole from A Day of Small Things. I always love Nicole's videos on Shakespeare. She just has like such a great understanding of Shakespeare and such a great love of and interest in Shakespeare, and I always love her videos on Shakespeare's plays, but it was quite fun to see a video on Shakespeare's poetry and on a poem that I don't know myself very well. So yeah, I thought that was great. And there were two other classics videos I've really enjoyed lately. One from Olive from A Book Olive about her favourite classic books, and another from A Novel Life with Rachel about her favourite classic books, which has a great title actually, Jilted Brides and Unhappy Wives. And I just really enjoyed both Rachel and Olive's favourite classics videos because I always love to hear about people's favourite classics. There are a couple of great discussion videos on Booktube over the past few months that I wanted to mention. One came from Shelley Swearingen, who always makes really interesting discussion videos, and that was a video called Ari, What is Literary Fiction Anyways, which was a response to a video I made ages ago called What is Literary Fiction Anyway? And Shelley was basically giving her take on literary fiction, what literary fiction is, how she interprets it, how she feels about it, etc. And I just found it a really interesting video, especially because I think Shelley and I come at this from slightly different angles, because I often don't get on with more literary fiction, and that's very much not the case for Shelley. I feel like we both love historical fiction, but love very different kinds of historical novels, and so I always find her take on reading and what she likes to read and what she values about reading very interesting. Brian from Bookish also made a really great video called Why Do Books Today Suck? I feel like I should say in recommending that video that books today don't suck, and that's the point of the video. It's a great video. Anyway, Elise Reeds also made a really interesting video called Why Is Romantasy So Popular?, where she looks into what sort of traits and tropes appeal to people in romantasy fiction, why it's doing well at the moment, which I found really interesting, because I feel like I hear a lot of discussion about the fact that romantasy is really popular, but not necessarily why. So I thought that was a really great video. And then another discussion video I also found really interesting lately was one from Book Chats with Shelley called Liking Popular Books Doesn't Make You Basic, which is just a really interesting look at sort of popular fiction and attitudes towards it sometimes. I just thought it was a really great video. Then I have some more videos to recommend. I feel like I've written down way too many videos this time. I really enjoyed a video from Evelyn from A Much Needed Break about the International Booker Prize, which is sort of about what the International Booker Prize is and its history, and also her predictions. The long list is out by now. This is a video from a couple of months ago, but it's a great video, really interesting, highly recommend it. And on the subject of literary prizes, I've also been really enjoying Dan Book's Life's really fantastic reviews of the books from the Walter Scott Prize long list. We both are reading along with the Walter Scott Prize for historical fiction, and I've just been loving seeing his reviews and seeing our different opinions. I wanted to especially recommend his review of Sea Scraper, which I personally didn't really get a lot out of, but Dan got a lot out of it, and I just really enjoyed watching his video and like seeing how he interpreted certain things and how he read it. It was just very interesting, so I highly recommend his videos. Another video I really enjoyed over the past couple of months is one from Olivia Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophe called I Forgot About These Books I Love, which is all about books that she really loves that she just hasn't spoken about for ages and was kind of forgotten about, which I thought was a great video, because there are definitely books that I love that I forget about sometimes. And I think especially if you read a lot of books, as I do, as Olivia Savannah does, you know, a book that you've read like 8 years ago and you've read 1,000+ books since, which is a weird thing to think, but I guess is true because I often read 150 books a year. Sometimes those books can kind of slip from your mind a little bit, and that's a shame because they might be fantastic books that you want to remember and think about. I feel like maybe I need to do one of those videos, because there are definitely some amazing books that I haven't spoken about on this channel for a really long time. So I highly recommend that video for the books, but also the topic itself. I also really enjoyed, a month or two ago, Willow from Willow Talks Books did a review of Never Let Me Go, which was just fantastic. Never Let Me Go is a novel by Kazuo Ishiguro, which is one of Willow's favourite books and is also one of my favourite books. And I just absolutely loved her review. The first, two-thirds, I guess, is spoiler-free, and then it goes into spoilers later on. And I just think it's a fantastic review of what is just a truly amazing novel. And then finally, one last video I wanted to recommend that I really enjoyed lately was a video from Book Chat with Pat called In Celebration of Mary Oliver, where Pat spoke about her love of the poet Mary Oliver and read some of Mary Oliver's poetry, and I just really, really enjoyed it. I love Mary Oliver a lot. I think she's a wonderful poet, and I really enjoy how Pat talks about poetry. So highly recommend that one too. And that is the end of my list of videos. I feel like in my head this books and things video was a quick chatty video, and I feel like I had a lot of books to haul and a lot of videos to recommend, and we've probably been here a while. My tea's cold, so I think that means we have been here for a while. All right, that is enough rambling from me. Do let me know down in the comments, what booktubers have you been enjoying lately? Have you acquired any new books? What have you been enjoying beyond the realm of books? Otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back very soon with another bookish video.